Okay, so this is my UFC Fight Night Japan breakdown, which was also UFC Fight Night Barnett versus Nelson. Now, to start off the card, there was the Road to UFC Japan finale, and apparently, which this was not very well advertised by the UFC, but the Road to Japan was a Ultimate Fighter, or Road to UFC, was an Ultimate Fighter like show that was only on the Fight Pass, and again, they really didn't advertise this to bring in more Japanese fighters because they're trying to obviously expand, but also kind of a throwback to the Pride days. They want to revive Japanese MMA. And the final was at featherweight, and it was Hirota versus Ishihara. And it actually ended in a tie due to a judging error, and then another error because the judges didn't know it was supposed to go to a fourth sudden death round. So they actually both got the contracts, which was pretty cool. It was a really back and forth fight. You could call it a tie. It wasn't a great fight, I'm not going to lie to you. Ishihara started off much better in the first round and, in the second round, and then Hirota came raging back in the second half of the fight. So, I guess I got to give it to him. It was a solid fight, but no fireworks, man. Come on. And it really should have gone to that fourth round. There should be a winner in that tournament. But, happy ending. They both got their contracts, so good for them. Second fight was Kikuno versus Brandao, which was a bantamweight fight. Diego Brandao got the TKO 35 seconds in. Just immediately hit him with a overhand right, put him against the cage, and just wailed on. It was beautiful, the punch that landed straight to the point of the jaw, and it was just excellent. He also got Performance of the Night honors, completely deserved. Next was Mizukage versus Rope, which is also at bantamweight. And this was a really weird fight because Roop is 6'1" and has a 76-inch reach, which is insane for a bantamweight. He can reach out and put his hand on anyone in the division's head, and they can't kick him. It's ridiculous. And like a moron, he decided to clinch and just stay in close the entire time. I don't get it. When he backed away, he was landing shots, but he just had if he had a game plan, it was just wrong. And it was just not well informed, and it was just stupid. As a result, Mizukage got the decision. Completely deserved. He did a great job, but part of the reason he was able to do a great job is because Roop had a stupid game plan. And I'm not mincing words there. It was just dumb. Next, Horiguchi versus Camus. This is a flyweight fight. We saw Kyoji Horiguchi get submitted via armbar to Demetrius Johnson, by Demetrius Johnson in the flyweight title fight earlier this summer, which was at 4 minutes and 59 seconds of the fifth round. Latest submission in UFC history. Can't be broken. Anyway, I really like Horiguchi. He's incredibly fast. He's very skillful. Camus really struggled to hit him. Horiguchi just landed shots almost at will, just dancing around him. It was phenomenal. However, we didn't get to see Horiguchi's knockout power, which he has. Not many flyweights have knockout power. Horiguchi has knockout power. Dodson has knockout power. There's probably a couple of others. I'm just not. I don't really watch the flyweight division that much. But Horiguchi is someone who definitely stands out, and he showed it again tonight. He got the at Fight Night Japan. He got the decision, and there was really no question throughout the fight who was in control. All right, now this was my favorite fight on the card, and let me tell you why. So this was Gegard Mousasi versus Uriah Hall. And so the first round looked kind of like a typical Mousasi, not just Mousasi, but a typical lay and pray round. Mousasi took down Hall, just kind of stayed on top of him, punched him in the head a couple of times, didn't really do much. Ref broke it, took him back down, same thing. So we go into the second round, and Uriah Hall lands a spinning back kick right to Musasi's face, like immediately, and rocks him. And then Hall follows up the spinning back kick with a flying knee, and then finishes him off with strikes. First time Musasi has ever been stopped by strikes in his entire MMA career. Now, the reason why I am like blown away by this fight is that Uriah Hall perfectly timed the spinning back kick. Musasi was actually ducking to shoot for a takedown. It's a little far out, but I mean, he could have gotten it. Musasi's pretty good. He knows where to shoot from. So he actually ducked into the spinning back kick. And to his credit, he stayed on his feet. He was up and he was aware. And then, as he was still kind of wobbly and he was still coming up, Uriah Hall landed the flying knee right to his chin. Again, two perfectly timed and in-point accurate attacks, which normally are in no way accurate. Go to a heavy bag, pick a spot, put a little paper face on it, and try and hit it with a spinning back kick. You're going to miss 8 out of 10 times. Try and hit it with a flying knee. You might hit it more often, but not when it's moving and stumbling away from you. So that was just excellent. I was just completely blown away by Uriah Hall in that, which I'm glad to see Uriah Hall is, not choking these big fights against big names like Gegard Mousasi. And unfortunately, Mousasi is not living up to his potential as the former Strikeforce champion. But oh well. Hopefully he will do better in the future. Alright, and the main event, Josh Barnett versus Roy Big Country Nelson. Barnett definitely earned his nickname the War Master in this. This was a 5-round fight, which was very surprising to me because both men are finishers. 6 out of 7, 7 if I'm remembering correctly, of Nelson's wins have come in the first round by knockout. All 7 UFC wins are by, he has more than 7 wins, just UFC wins. All 7 of his UFC wins are by knockout. And he has, I swear to God, if he hits you with that overhand right, he can send you into the 3rd row. It's just huge power. Barnett, on the other hand, got his start actually catch wrestling, which is submission-style wrestling, which is kind of a fusion of freestyle and jiu-jitsu. So you can either submit people or pin them, which is pretty cool. So Barnett's more of a submission specialist, and he has he has a lot of finishes. He had like an 85% finishing rate, which is stupid. So both these guys, who are known to be finishers, step into the octagon. Everyone's like, there's going to be a finish. And it goes 5 rounds. Like, it was phenomenal. And now, actually, I want to give props to Nelson in this. Because normally Nelson is known as a very one-dimensional fighter. He keeps you on your feet, and he throws that big overhand right and just puts you to sleep. In this fight, he threw that overhand right, and he landed it. And Barnett did not care, so props to Barnett for that. However, that's not what I'm talking about. Nelson showed down his takedown game, and he took down Josh Barnett, who's a very skilled grappler and has a fairly high takedown defense several times. On top of that, Nelson also started throwing head kicks several times throughout the match, which is not something that has been seen from Nelson before in the past. So, I'm not sold that Nelson should retire. Some people are calling for his retirement because he hasn't really done well in the UFC. I mean, he's got those 7 knockouts, but I think he's got another 5 losses, which isn't very good. But I think we're starting to see Nelson come into his own as a fighter, and I also don't think the UFC can really afford to get rid of many heavyweights. I mean, that's a pretty old division right now. So I'm not sold that he should retire. I think he should be given 1 or 2 more fights, because I think in that loss he really did show improvement over his last fights. So that's my 2 cents on that. Now Barnett, who got the decision, landed the most strikes out of any heavyweight in history in that fight. It was ridiculous. He kept Nelson in the clinch very well. He landed a lot of knees, vicious knees, both to the body and the head. He landed a lot of big shots. He ate Nelson's right hand, which has been known to knock almost anyone out. like, but apparently not Barnett. So good to Barnett, and he definitely earned his nickname, the War Master, in this. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that Nelson took him down, and I'm not really saying that Nelson should have got the decision because it was very clear that Barnett won. But I don't think Barnett landed any takedowns. I think it was all Nelson. But I mean, like I said, those clinches were brutal. I mean, they were awful. Like he kept him again. He'd land like 7 or 8 knees and a couple of elbows in each clinch, which only lasted like 30 seconds. That's a really high volume, especially at heavyweight, where these guys aren't darting in and out and landing 4 punches in half a second. And you don't even see half of them. So he had just tremendous volume, and he controlled Nelson very well for most of it. And like I said, his chin was great, his defense was great, he was in control, clearly, for most of the fight. So props to Barnett. Overall, I say this was a fairly, it was an okay card. I liked the Horiguchi Camus fight. I liked the top 3 fights, basically. The other ones I thought were like, eh. I mean, Brando's knockout was very nice, and I think he deserves it. But once it gets below featherweight for me, there really needs to be like a top 5 fighter involved for me to give a shit. And I know that sounds bad, but like, I mean, most flyweights and bantamweights don't really have a lot of finishing power. I mean, yeah, it's way more technical, and I do enjoy that aspect to some degree, but I mean, after a while it gets a little old. I like seeing finishes. I like grappling a lot, and it doesn't really happen as often. So yeah, that's my breakdown. Once again, I'm gonna plug Mastercast Gaming. Go check them out. They just started a Mass Effect and Soma series, so those will probably be pretty cool. So go check them out. All right, this is Connor signing off.